Hello and thanks for joining. Today we're going to talk about postal stationery cut squares. In this picture here you'll see quite a good array of different cut squares. Postal stationery, if you're not familiar with it, is stationery, usually either in the form of a envelope pre-posted with one of these designs with a value, or most often on a postcard actually. Occasionally, I'd say the letter rate has changed, or the postcard rate has changed. You'll see them in conjunction with additional postage. I think I have an example of that, which I'll show later. And again, not everything has cent or dollar values on it. You can see we have a rate A one here. Most likely, I believe rate A was probably in the early 70s, followed by rate B, C, D, E, and on. And of course, now we have what do you call it? Forever stamps, right? So essentially that, but these are not stamps. I shouldn't call them stamps. Some people think they might be stamps, but they're not. They're part of the stationery itself. So they're postal stationery, collected separately. Most of these are fairly good examples. Ideally, you want to have them cut as squares, not cut in the shape of the device that you have there. Hopefully not damaged. Generally, I like to see the full cancel if I can, but something like this is not objectionable. Something like this, it would have been nicer if it was cut actually square, not a ragged tear, and maybe included the full device. In this case, it looks like we have a slogan cancel here. It'd be nice if it also had its postmark, assuming there was one. In fact, in all these cases, it would be nice if we also saw the postmark. Here's another example of a cropped slogan cancel. So while that first batch was just the United States, this batch you can see is worldwide, right? So postal stationery is not limited just to the United States. And again, I'm not pulling out the best examples of anything I have. This is just from a recent batch of on-paper stamps that I ordered. This is some of the postal stationery I pulled out of the top of the box, and I didn't get picky with it. So we have a 6 pence from the United Kingdom. Here we have one from Trinidad and Tobago, 25 cents. Here we have one from France. This one, I believe, is Iran or Persia, based on the date. I mean, it's going to be the same country, but just different names. Here's one from Mexico, and a lot of these are embossed. In fact, out of these foreign ones, the only one that's embossed is the eagle here on this Mexican one, but many of the U.S. ones are embossed as well, which gives them a nice feeling of quality. And lastly, out of this set here, we have one from Italy. And here we have some examples of things that we should do and should not do, right? So I mentioned earlier, you don't trim tight around the device. That's considered a worthless, piece of postal stationery. It's no longer a cut square. It's a cut round, cut too close, damaged example, right? So we have George and Martha here have been cut far too close and not in the right shape. We have this, beautiful Australian one here, but again, it's been cut in the shape of the oval. George Washington here, again, cut too close and in the shape of the oval. In this case, almost a cut square, but a rough tear, and again, through the device, so ruined. And this one, while not directly ruined, there's no way I can make a square out of this, even cleaning it up with some scissors. Somebody might still collect that, but it's not ideal. Now, over here we have this one. This one is a square, but again, I'd say that's a little cut too close. I'm still going to keep it until I get something better, but could have been cut a little more broadly. I'd like to include the entire cancellation, possibly the postmark as well. So here we have, again, cut too close, ragged, touching the device, but they almost got it right. We have the postmark and we have the slogan cancel, almost complete. So getting closer, but still a bad example. We have here's one that I think this is perfectly acceptable. There's nothing wrong with this, but it would be even better if it had the postmark as well. This is pretty much my ideal example, right? So it's got cancel, the postmark, it's cut in a square or rectangle, it's got the full device, plenty of room around it to see what's going on. Here's an example of one that you can't really complain as far as a cut square, but why they cut through the additional postage, I'm not sure. It seems like a missed opportunity to get the full set of postage and the postmark. Down here we have two examples of the same one. This one was cut maybe unnecessarily close. It's complete. There's nothing really wrong with this, but you could have kept the corner of the envelope like you see here, and this one has the complete postmark. The only thing we'd do here is trim this up into a nice evenly bordered square, and that would perfect this one to a bit. Okay, and here we have some examples of thematic cut squares. So we have bowling, the Liberty Bell, and this one from the previous scene, Pony Express. We have a bison, a tree, which is called a Liberty tree. It's probably a specific tree I'm not familiar with in history. And then we have a runner from the Olympics in 1980. We have what it looks like Mount Vernon, George Washington's home. And then we have the Statue of Liberty. And here we have some complete examples of postal stationery unclipped into a square. Again, this would be even more collectible and even more valuable than the cut square. So this is the preferred way to collect them beyond cut squares. And lastly, we have this really interesting piece here. This would have been a folded over postcard. So essentially you would have received it like this. And it allowed then for you to fill out the form on the back, basically checking off your answers, and then tear it apart at this seam and mail back your response form with this uncanceled piece here of postage. So this, I believe, would still possibly be good postage if it was on the stationery itself. Maybe you can even reuse a cut square. I guess I'd have to research that if it's not been used. But in this case, it's a situation where I'd never seen both the outgoing and the return on the postcard, but certainly makes a lot of sense, and I can see why that exists. I think it's a really neat piece that I've recently found. Really, I mean, as far as going with a nice cut square with the proper cancel and cutout, the only next best thing would be to collect the entire card to then have the entire piece. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or information on any of these that maybe I'm not aware of, please post some comments. Thank you.